Welcome, everyone, to the From the Shadows podcast. I am your host, Shane Grove. Before we get started into this episode, I just want to remind everybody, if you want to follow us on Facebook, you can find us at From the Shadows podcast, or you can follow us at our forum page, which is called After the Shadows. That's where a lot of people post some pretty cool stuff. You can find me at Shane Grove Author on Instagram, or at From the Shadows Podcast on Instagram. And if you want to send us an email, you can go to our website, the From the Shadows Podcast.com, go to the contact button, hit the email function, whatever it is. I haven't sent myself an email, so I don't know, but I do know I get them. So go ahead and send me if you got a experience or a story you want to share. I'd love to hear them. And if you want to come on the show, we'd love to have you on. And like I said, you can get a hold of us on Facebook or through Instagram. And, we'd love to hear your experiences. And so today's guest, I actually came across on another Facebook page. I'm kind of torn right now. If you're not watching on YouTube, he has a terrible towel up on the wall behind him. And as a Cleveland Browns fan, especially what happened in Pittsburgh last Monday night, although we are hearing it's not as bad for Nick Chubb as what it nearly was what it looked like it was. But joining us, the Steeler fan, Bud, welcome to the From the Shadows podcast. How you doing?
Great. I appreciate you contacting me on Facebook. I don't, get to tell these stories very often, but I'm glad that happened. The Steelers probably would have lost that game if Chubb wouldn't have got hurt. I know the Steelers fans aren't going to like that, but let's be real.
I'm not going to make any predictions for NFL football because it's a losing proposition here and on FanDuel, and this is in no way an endorsement of FanDuel, unless they want to give us some money to endorse them. So Bud, I saw a post that you made about some experiences that you had as a younger man and in Pennsylvania. And you told me a very interesting story about that. And I'd like you to share with our listeners, set up, where you were, what the circumstances were. I know everybody can't see the map that you sent me, but maybe we'll put that up on our Patreon page or whatever. People can go check it out and see the hike that you were making in this story to really sell what kind of environment you were in. So Bud, go ahead and tell us about your experiences.
Well, I grew up in northwestern Pennsylvania, a town called Bradford. We had the Zippo lighters and the Kendall motor oil, probably 4 hours north of Pittsburgh, a couple hours east of Erie, about a mile from the New York state line in the Allegheny Mountains. So, pretty much that was our playground. We always fishing, hunting, always out in the woods doing things. The town is just surrounded, woods. So I played 9 sports growing up, so I was pretty active. I was really good shape. So one time we were on the outskirts of town. I was about 15 years old. It was myself and my brother, one of my brothers, and one of our friends. My father had went out there to see one of his friends, and they were in the house. And we were just kind of staying there. It was about probably 6 o'clock at night. And all of a sudden, I heard this, I don't know, you want a Bigfooters call it a scream or a yell, but it was similar to this. And what I heard was, it was like the most guttural thing I've ever heard in my life. that wasn't a very good one. But it almost felt like
that was a pretty good. Don't sell yourself short. That was a pretty good one. I mean, good.
Well, but I mean, and it was about like 5 or 6 seconds. You know, we've got, you know, valleys and up there, I guess they call them hollers in West Virginia, but and it just echoed down the valley. Like, I mean, I wish I could explain it. It was I've heard everything you can hear out in the woods because we were out in the woods all the time, and I kept thinking. I mean, I just looked at my brother and the other friend, and I was looking at him like, okay, what was that? Did you hear that? You know, and we had the B&O railroad that came through there, and I thought, well, was that a train? And there's another one, no train. You know, they don't even blow their whistle up in the mounds like that, and it didn't sound anything like a train. But I had never heard anything like that in my life. And probably for like 15 minutes, we just kind of sat thinking, you know, and of course, being that age, you know, like I said, we just came to the conclusion, that, you know, that was pretty cool. You know, didn't know what that was, but it was something I'll never forget. So I also had a girlfriend, and back then, and I used to on the map you see where my house was, and I literally didn't have a car, couldn't drive back then, so I just walked. I mean, I was in good shape, so I just walked around the mountain. Took me a couple hours, and I did it quite often. So there were several times when I'd be walking and I would hear noises. And, you know, like I said, back then I was fearless. I didn't care. I've been chased by bears 3 times. I sat on a rattlesnake. You know, I was between a mother and a cub. You know, to me, I was, like I said, I was stupid and fearless. And my thing was, okay, how am I going to get out of this? You know, but there were probably 8 or 9 times when I would hear this. I don't even know what to call it, what they call Bigfoot talk. But of course, at the time, I didn't know what this was, but it would be like, you know, just kind of like, I don't know, Japanese and different, you know what I mean? It was just kind of like that. And I probably heard it 8 or 9 times. And I would always look around. I never saw anything. So, you know, my thing was, as long as I didn't see anything, I don't care. I'm on my way to my girlfriend's, and that's where I want to go. And that's what's on my mind, you know? But I did wonder what it was, but like I said, I never saw anything. And I hear things crashing and stuff, but I just, okay, well, that was a bear, a deer, but I'm on my way. I got a mission, you know. So later in life, um, I moved from Pennsylvania after college. I came down to South Carolina, North Augusta, South Carolina, and I was living there and around Augusta. And eventually I got married, you know, got divorced. And then I ended up getting a lake house up near, we called it Clark Hill Lake. They changed it to Thurman Dam and Lake a while later. But it was always Clark Hill to us. And the house was about a mile from Elijah Clark State Park. And I was up there one time fishing because the house I had, it didn't even have central heat and air in the South, you know, for 5 years, figure. But I got up real early and got home real late, and you know, it worked for me. And once in a while, it just get too hot. You know, you got to rent a cabin. So I was over there one weekend, and I was fishing, and the cabins have these little coves in them. So I looked over to the other side, and I saw this big, huge stump, and I thought, you know, there's got to be fish over there. But the brush was so thick, it literally took me what would take me in a straight line, maybe, you know, half a minute. It took me like 30 minutes just to get over there. So I got over there, and finally whereabouts where I was, almost to where I was about to wanted to be. And I looked down, and I saw these 2 huge footprints, and they were probably, I don't know, I'd say a good 4 or 5 feet apart. I looked down, there was like 2 smaller ones in between. It was like somebody was, or something was just standing there looking out over the, you know, over the cove whenever they were there. So my first thought is, well, what made that, right? I'm always thinking, how did that happen? Who could make something like that? And so the first thing I thought was maybe it's those special shoes that the boaters wear. but there was no way you could get a boat in there. I mean, it was so thick I couldn't even walk through it. So that was out. And you could see dermal ridges. I mean, you could see, you know, what a Bigfoot looks nowadays. You know, that's exactly what it was. So I took a picture of it, and about a month or two later, I was at the state park. They had a banjo pull every year, and one of the forestry people were there. And I guess South Carolina's DNR, and Georgia, we had the part of the forestry. And I was talking to a guy. I was showing him the picture when one of them walked up, and I said, "Hey, have you ever seen anything like this?" And he looked at it. He said, "Where'd you get that? Do you have any more of those? I need that." Took it right out of my hand and just walked away. So I thought, well, that's kind of strange, you know? So that's when I really started, you know, doing some research about, you know, Bigfoot, right? So I found a tape in Washington State where I heard this almost the exact same scream or yell that I heard. And I was like, you know, that's exactly what I heard right there. I almost got chills when I heard that. And then I heard another one in Ohio. You got a real famous one that was similar to that too. So I thought, well, wow. So then I heard the Sierra sound, and I heard the way they were talking. And I was like, that's exactly what I heard, you know, 8 or 9 times. So then I started thinking backwards, you know. I remember one time we were up in the woods, and me and my brothers, and we were up there messing around, and they had left, and I didn't know it. So I was looking for them for about an hour, and somebody kept throwing pine cones at me. So I was like, I'm gonna find you guys. You know, by the time I got home, about an hour later, my mom said they had been there for an hour. They weren't even there, and there couldn't have been any people up there because I would have found them. So I'm not sitting here saying that those, you know, could have been Bigfoot throwing pine cones at me, but I know the bears don't. And you know, I can't sit there and say, you know, 100% there was no person there, but I guarantee if there was, I would have found them. But anyway, so I thought, well, that was kind of odd. Then I noticed, you know, I found a lot of stick structures, things like that. I always wondered, you know, who made those and how could they make a branch be in that kind of angle and stuff. And, you know, I just started doing some research, and that's how I figured out, you know, that's got to be what it is. And what really sells it for me is that, and I don't know if I was telling you this the other day, but you know, when you take these gauge impressions of these footprints in some of these soils, and the evidence, science shows that it may take something that's 7 to 9 feet tall, you know, has to weigh 800 or 900 pounds, and has over a 5 foot stride. I don't know why a lot of researchers don't use that. You know, I rarely hear anybody talk about it. They talk about the footprint. Now, maybe they don't have the gear to, you know, to do those kind of impressions or whatever. I think they did them, you know, in Bluff Creek. They used those out there. But to me, there's no man in a monkey suit that can put that much pressure in, you know, certain types of soils like that are 100 miles out in British Columbia or somewhere, you know. So I've never seen one, but I can tell you that, you know, from what I've experienced, that those things are real.
Yeah, well, to the point where the whole deal about somebody hoaxing some of those. Now, obviously, we know there's some very well-known hoaxes, and there are a lot of hoaxes when it comes to footprints. But the ones that are way out in the middle of nowhere, to just get there in the first place is, you know, a lot of times pretty much impossible. It's a real trek to get to some of these places where footprints are found. And unless the person finding them is the one hoaxing them, why would somebody be out in those areas not even knowing if anybody else is going to come along?
Right.
You know, like it's one thing if you wanted to hoax it out here in our backyard, because eventually I'm going to walk into the backyard. But like you said, 100 miles out in the middle of nowhere in the deep woods, you don't know if anybody's going to come along in time to even see what you did.
Yeah.
So
there's too many sightings. There's just too many sightings.
So
to do that all over the world.
I would think so too. And that's kind of what I think. I think, yes, there's no doubt there's lots of hoaxers, but I don't think I think it's pretty much impossible that everything is a hoax. But I want to go back to to what you were hearing as you're trekking through the woods. And so how did that, like at the time when you hear this, which you think is Japanese or Chinese chatter, what is going through your head when you hear that? Like, I know you're telling yourself, I don't see anything, I'm okay, but I almost think there has to be a part of you that says those aren't squirrels. There has to be, there has to be at least people out here doing that. So like as you think back, what, because I'm imagining when you went over, you had to come back the same way, right?
Oh yeah. Sometimes in the dark.
Yeah. So how does that work? Because I don't know that once I got there, I'd be coming back if that's what I was hearing out there.
Well, at the time, like I said, I was like a Marine, and I was fearless. And to me, if I heard something, I want to figure out what it is. But like I said, I never saw anything. So there wasn't anything for me to be able to figure out. And it seemed like it was always when I went over, not when I came back. So I don't know, maybe once or twice when I came back, but it was usually, and it would come from different, like different sides. It seemed like sometimes, but like I said, I never saw anything. So it's like, well, I don't know. I wasn't, it didn't scare me or nothing because at the time, I didn't know. I never heard that before. So, and like I said, I just wanted to get to see my girlfriend. So I wasn't really thinking past that. But I just never really, I wondered what it was. Just like once in a while, I'd wonder what that scream was. But, the first one I heard. But I just never really, I never really thought about it too much until I got down here. And then I heard it on a tape. And then I kept thinking, well, gee, I've been pretty close to these things, more than once.
Now, did you ever, once you heard like the Ohio howl and the other one from Washington State, and you kind of connected the dots of the howl that you guys heard, did you go back? Are those other guys still around to go back and talk to it about, or not?
Well, my friend, honestly, I don't even remember which friend it was, to be honest with you. I had so many. And my brother's still around. And he's up in Pennsylvania. I don't know whether I don't even know if he even remembers, but, I'm not really sure, to be honest with you.
I'd be interested.
I never really asked him about it, when I was up there. Because, after I heard it the first time, like 15 minutes later, we're just moving on. So it never came up. I never thought about it, never thought to ask him about it. And, I guess I probably could, but I just never really thought about it. I was so into figuring out what they were and can't really believe that those were I was around them like that. I guess that was more of my thinking, not what they thought about it now.
Yeah, I'm just.
I could ask my brother.
Yeah, out of curiosity, it makes me wonder if it stuck with him the same way that it stuck with you. because it doesn't sound like you guys made like a real huge deal about it other than what the heck was that? And
that's really all it was back then. Because like I said, we didn't know. It was like, we just don't know. So we don't know. We just move on, right? When you're young like that.
So now, have you got into doing any research on that area where you grew up to see if there were sightings reported?
Well, I'm actually in an admin of a group up there in Bradford. Jason Colley is the one that heads it. But and I know they go out and do stuff. I know they have a lot of sightings in Pennsylvania. I mean, a lot compared to other states. I think they're one of the top states for sightings. But I haven't been there in like 30 years, besides maybe visit once in a while. So I've never, I've seen reports from up there and know exactly where they're talking about most of the time. And I can see why they would be up there. But as far as me, being to go out there, I really haven't.
But I mean, so now, are any of those reports close to where you would have had your experiences?
I don't know of any reports that were like on that hill, but I believe there have been reports, around Bradford. And I know, obviously the Allegheny National Forest out by, we have a dam out there at Kenzie Viaduct. I saw a lot of stick structures out there at Bridge. It was the eighth wonder of the world before a tornado blew half of it down. It was called the Kenzie Bridge. And I know Finding Bigfoot actually did an episode up there off the bridge. One of their shows they did up there. But like I said, as far as me, being to go out up there, I haven't. And but I know they've had sightings up there. Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the picture you shared with me, it definitely, I mean, if there's going to be Bigfoot anywhere, it definitely looks like could be some hanging out in that mountain, in that hill there. I mean, it's very dense with forest, and it looks like it's a place where, unless you're going over the mountain to see your girlfriend, you're not out, you're not out there in those woods, probably. I mean,
there's a lot of all the mountains out there are like that. I mean, they're really thick, thick woods. They'll different oil lease roads and things like that. You got to traverse when you're going up there. And there must have been an old farm up there on the hill, because there was a pasture that I used to have to walk through, and you could see the remnants of a old fence and stuff. But it's definitely the way the ridges go. They can, easily move back and forth through there. Nobody would even know.
Yeah. Well, so what? So
and
what do you?
The smell too was.
Oh,
I did have the smell too. I forgot to mention that, but to me that was just, something died.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
I didn't really think a lot about that. Obviously, bad and done, but it was, yeah. Oh, that smelled pretty bad.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that's always the trick, especially growing up out in the country, is okay. Because there's some bad smells. Something dies, like you said, and it's, and it very well could be, but usually, especially if it's there for a couple days, where the smell's at, and you just stay away. You stay away from it. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't follow you around. That's
yeah. That's right.
So what do you? So you found the footprints down there by the lake. Then what did the you said it was the wildlife? What are they? What are they called?
The rangers or
so
rangers.
So did they let on anything about there being more to that, or they just kind of played it close to the vest?
Yeah, there was no conversation. I mean, I didn't even say a word. They just where'd you get that? I need that. Do you have any more of those? And just grabbed it and walked away.
Wow. That's it.
It wasn't, hey, what do you think that is? Or, it's just like, I'm taking that. See ya. Which I thought, but, and that kind of got me thinking, well, why would you act like that?
Yeah. If anything, you think they would try to talk you out of what oh, that's just a bear. That's just somebody fishing and they left that. You know what I'm saying? Like they might try to give you a different rational reason to what that could be. But yeah, just to snatch a picture and say, hey, give me that. And if you got any more, I'm taking them.
We're taking that.
Wow.
And to me, it's not like I don't have to prove they exist because of what I know, even though I've never seen one. But prove to me they don't. Like with these foot impressions and these foot gauge impressions, show me what can do that without like some kind of machinery that would obviously leave some kind of mark that you would know that somebody used something to do that. Show me what else can do that. There is nothing else.
Yeah, and for people to act that way, that's not helping dissuade the argument that they exist. That almost makes it even more suspicious. So have you looked into that area as far as Bigfoot sightings down there? Is around that lake?
In Georgia?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They've had them, near Augusta, South Carolina, up by the lake. They're in North Georgia. We have somebody had a picture yesterday or the day before up in Jasper, which is probably about 15 miles from where I'm at, where they thought there was one in their driveway. I think it was a dog man, but that's what it looked like to me. And we've had different groups come up here. There's one called the Sisters of the Moon, where I think Debbie Jones is their leader. She's from Texas, and they go out a lot down there. But yeah, North Georgia. I don't know if you've ever been to North Georgia.
Just passing through.
The mountains up here. The only thing I could maybe the same kind of mountains that we have are maybe some of them mountains in West Virginia. But they're big mountains, and some of them are like straight up. And yeah, they've had a lot of sightings up here.
Yeah, I've heard
afraid to go out,
I've heard from a lot of. I've heard a lot from a lot of people in that area. There's a lot of activity. In fact, I just was sent a picture of a footprint that somebody took. I don't know where it was in Georgia. I'd have to look on my phone, but it was enormous. A regular man had their foot beside it, and the thing was enormous. And when I see that stuff, I'm just like, okay, somebody has to be walking barefoot, or they are putting on some, and it's just, and if there is a guy that big that's wearing a size that's not Shaq, okay, and he's out walking around barefoot, that's just as scary to me as if there's a Bigfoot running around out there. It doesn't make it any better if it's a guy out there walking around barefoot. It's giant. Yeah. To me, it's just.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying, and I hate to say this, but I used to love going out in nature. Right? I'm too fat to go on hikes, but anyway, right now. But it's like it's almost to the point where you almost don't even want to go out, because it's like there's so many things out there that can kill you. If it ain't a bear, or we had black panthers down here. you have to worry about the people, and all these people that go missing, like, Dave Pilates talks about all the time. Where do they go? It's like you got to be watching your back. It's like you can't even enjoy it. If it ain't a rattlesnake you're going to step on, or a bear comes walking up, or who knows what. But I mean, it's almost to the point where I hate to say it, like the more it's like you don't even want to go out there.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't even enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest. I spent almost all of my childhood and summers in the woods behind our house, but our woods was only a couple acres, so you could really see through the woods, and there was no. But to know and experience things like that, I could see how you could really feel a little bit of danger, or definitely feel like alone out there, as far as another human. if there's something paranormal or cryptid, lurking around the woods.
It started when I was living out at my lake house, because this was after I had found those footprints and all that stuff. I'd be out there. I had the power company put in a light pole. It was like rented for like $9 a month for the power, because I didn't have any lights out there where I was at. And I would be sitting out there 11 o'clock at night, 11:30 at night, just sitting underneath this light, and the cicadas would be so loud you couldn't think straight. And then all of a sudden it would be like total silence, just like you could hear the wind blow, and I hear things crashing through the woods, and be like, usually a deer doesn't make the whole wood stop. All the noises in the woods don't stop when a deer walks through there. And I'd lay there at night sometimes, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. It'd sound like trees were falling over, and I'd just be like, well, that was a big deer. It was a really big deer, But and I don't know what that was, but it's just kind of strange. I've read and heard stories about where, sometimes when they're around, it's like everything just stops. There's no noise. There's no, no anything. And you've probably been around like lakes and things in Ohio where the cicadas are just ridiculous. And just all of a sudden, it's like you snap your finger and it's like nothing, just totally nothing. So, that happened often. That was kind of odd.
And I've heard that so many times, and I still wonder, like, what are the insects afraid of? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Well, like what is so terrifying about say it's a Bigfoot going through there? What is so terrifying that makes them want to be quiet? So is there another aspect to this that even we don't understand, that poses a danger to everything, but if that was the case, then as you're walking through the woods, you would have ended up missing,
Right.
If they wanted to. And that's the part that would really get me in retrospect, is thinking how many times you could have just went missing walking over that mountain, and nobody would have known what happened. If
That's true. Yeah, I do think about that, and with and like, I don't know if these dogmen are real, but I could honestly see how maybe the government could create one. You know what I mean? But I think I'd rather meet up with a Bigfoot than meet up with one of those if they were real. I just couldn't imagine and maybe that's why a lot of people go missing, assuming they are. I could totally see that.
Well, obviously,
bodies and trees and.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I wish I don't want to interrupt. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead.
I've heard one story, and I wish I could remember where I heard this. It was probably maybe about 10 years ago, that happened in Mississippi, where they found a guy that was stuck behind the seat of his truck.
Yes.
And he was folded over, but he was folded over the opposite way. I don't know who can do something like that. You know?
Yes, that was. Oh gosh, the guy has a podcast and he's written like 6 or 7 books on Bigfoot experiences. I think he's been on. I actually have a book. I have one of his books downstairs, but oh gosh, I can't think of it. But a lot of Bigfoot people are yelling right now at their listening devices, going, "You dummy! This is."
So and so.
But yeah, I know the story you're talking about. That took place where the guy went out. Was he shooting? He was at a shooting range, is what he was at. He was at a shooting range out in the, like near a dump or something, I think. And they found him bent, like you said, bent in half the other way, stuffed behind his seat, and there's a lot of things that could maybe bend a guy in half. Okay. But they certainly aren't going to take the time to stuff you behind the seat. You know what I'm saying? That takes a real special.
Yeah. That got my attention real fast.
And as far as the dog man, I mean, I think everybody knows that listens to this show knows that the judge who started the podcast together, and he's on every so often, has a dog man tale that he'll tell you right now it's real, and it's not something, his story, he really believes that the thing was pacing him and trying to get him to go somewhere where there could be other ones. Somebody that was a hunter of wolves kind of explained that to him, that he goes, that whatever was pacing you out through that cornfield was not, they didn't want to attack you. They were trying to drive you to the rest of the pack. And that's
like coyotes do.
Yeah. And that's what this,
get one to come out and boom.
Yeah. That's what this hunter was that he met on an airplane was telling him. So, that was something that we thought about for a long time. And it's just, whatever it is, it's frightening, and you hope that, maybe 99.9% of the people walking on this planet will never have to experience that firsthand, and they'll be lucky, because I think a lot of people will tell you that do experience Dogman or Bigfoot, they don't feel all that lucky, depending on their experience. So,
well, if you think about it, and everything that they say they can do with all the paranormal, like they can, I don't know, not cloak themselves, but go in and out of things. Does that mean they could just show up wherever they wanted at any time, like in your house, or
let's hope
outside your house?
Let's hope there's some rules to this, that some unwritten rules that don't allow them to do that. Let's just say, but so speaking, like, we're going to take a left turn here, because I want to hear, you sent me a recording that all I can say is it's crazy, this recording that you sent me. And I don't know that we can clean it up enough to put it in here, but I will ask our producer if he can. But I want you to describe the situation and what was going on that led to this recording that you sent to me.
So, about a year and a half ago, I'd say, me and myself and my girlfriend at the time, she's now my wife, we were in Talking Rock, Georgia. It's not really that far from where we live. And there's a part of Talking Rock where they have, it's like a little main street, and there's only like 7 or 8 buildings. And across the street, there's some train tracks where they used to run. I don't think they use the tracks anymore, but they've taken some of the cars and turned it into like a brewery. So it's just kind of nice little area. And I like to go to antique stores, so they've got some antique stores there. And they've got this one building there that's an old hotel. And the night before, we were told that, and this is before we even knew that, that this recording had even taken place. But we were in the antique store, and they have a history of ghosts and things like that. So they had said the night before there was a paranormal group there. They had like 25 people that was doing some kind of tour or whatever, they do with those groups. So while we were there, and of course we didn't notice until maybe like 6 or 7 hours later, when we got home. But while we were there, my girlfriend at the time had her phone in her purse, so she obviously wasn't using it. And at some point, shortly after we got in there, it just started recording. So you could hear us talking in the beginning, and then all of a sudden it just went to this. I mean, well, you heard it. I mean, like chains, and if you had a train track, and you could hear one of the rails were loose, and it would be going cha-cha, 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 cha-cha. But it was a little different than that. But that kind of sound, and doors opening and moaning and growling, and this went on for like 45 minutes. And because we sat there at the at our dining room table, when she figured out, so like, what is this on my phone? And I mean, the phone would change colors. It would just go to this blood red, and then it would go back to black, and then it would just be normal. And the whole time it was like doors opening, squeaking, just, I mean, it was ridiculous. And I honestly, I have no idea what that was. And I can tell, as God is my witness, and I swear on my daughter who passed away, I swore in the Bible, with her, that was not made up. That was not something that, I went out, and I don't even know where you could find a tape like that, even if you were going to fake that, you know what I mean? But I don't know how that happened. I can't explain it. I mean, I think about that all the time. I mean, what was that? It's like, it was like another dimension or something inside her phone. I mean, I just, I don't know. I mean, I can't explain it. I can explain the Bigfoot and maybe a dog man. Because like I said, I think the government has something to do with that. But that, and I believe in UFOs, and, there's got to be UFOs, there's got to be aliens, I would think. But, and, it's funny how people believe in UFOs just like that. But these other things, that I cannot. I don't know. I'm almost speechless when I even think about it. I don't even know what to say.
Well, I mean, and so I listened to a little bit, a little bit of it, enough to know that when you put it in the context of what was happening and where you were, it immediately stuck out to me that, okay, and I think I said, I've been in hundreds of antique stores and even owned one for a while, and they're about as the only thing quieter than an antique store is a library. Okay, it is a place of reflection where people are looking through stuff and admiring stuff and checking stuff out, and it's not like a big party celebration. And that was some of the loudest, craziest noises. All I could relate it to is like one of those Halloween records that you used to get, and they'd have the noises where it would be like like you said, the chains, and then a howl and a and it would be all these sound effects, and and so then when you put it in the context of it being an antique store, to me it was almost like maybe everything that was there might have been some stuff attached to some of those antiques, because there are people that believe that spirits and entities attached to objects that were theirs, okay, or that energy follows those objects. and that maybe that all got stirred up the night before, and you guys were just the lucky or unlucky recipients of all that energy or all those things being stirred up, and they wanted to get somebody's attention. Like they had something to say, and it was almost like you guys were walking through there and got lucky to record it, or like I said, unlucky, because it is I mean, it would be unnerving for sure, because especially considering that you didn't hear any of it while you were there. So it's all from somewhere unseen and unheard.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't playing music or anything like that. It's just, you're in an antique store, people walking around, it's not like they're jumping up and down or anything. They're looking and, hey, what do you think about this, and talking. But I don't know. I just, I don't even know. Like I said, I don't even say when I heard that, and I sat there for 45 minutes, and especially like the growling, it was like, like this guttural. I mean, I'm just picturing this massive, something with fangs. I don't know, but that was
almost like a demonic, almost like something demonic.
Yeah.
Is there. And now you said that store used to be a hotel, right?
But from what I understand, it was a hotel, and it's a really old building, and they have had experiences there. I think, and as far as Talking Rock the town, if you look it up, I think they have a history of that kind of thing. I don't know if that kind of thing, but they do have a history of ghosts and things like that. But that I don't know. I don't again, like, be able to comprehend what could have done that. I just don't know.
Well, I got to be honest. If you're going to hear that sort of commotion and that growling, it's probably better off to hear it after the fact. I don't know that I'd want to be in the building and hear that. Yeah.
And I don't want them to follow me home. That's for sure.
Exactly. Well, in the fact that in a former life, so to speak, it used to be a hotel. You could see, like, if maybe like there was a time slip or something like that, and you were hearing the noises of a very busy hotel from 50, 60, 70 years ago, where the train let people off and stuff. But the growling and the guttural stuff, that's no good.
And what I was thinking about last night, where I've seen these videos, and I don't know where like somebody will be in their kitchen, or they'll have video where all of a sudden, like, a knife gets picked up and thrown or something, but yet there's nobody there. I mean, I think I always wonder, what if that's real, and you're with your partner and that happens? How are you going to explain that? You know what I mean? Well,
Are we talking about a future Dateline episode? Is that what we're talking about? Like,
you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, if that's paranormal, it's like they can really move things like that. I mean, what else can they do? I really wouldn't want to have those in my house and get set up for something that they're not got nothing to do with. But how would you even explain that? I mean, like, they're going to believe you? I don't think
you better hope whatever jury your lawyer helps pick out has at least one person that lives in a haunted house. That's all. It's my advice.
For sure.
That's legal advice. Well, Bud, I'm so glad you agreed to come on and tell us, share these experiences with us. And I mean, I really I am thinking about you making that trek over that mountain. I mean, I just can't imagine, like, the nerve, but you didn't know. Like you said, you didn't know what you didn't know. Like, you didn't have any idea. If you might have thought back then that there might have been a Bigfoot, you may not have made that trip.
Like I said, when I was growing up, I didn't even know what a Bigfoot was. I mean, the only Bigfoot I knew of was the one, the truck. If they even,
Oh yeah.
I never even. I mean, I've never even thought of I mean, I can't remember the time even growing up where anybody even mentioned it, like even said it, like even said Sasquatch or Bigfoot or anything like that. I never even heard anyone even bring it up. So of course I never thought about it. So, but boy, when I got down here, yeah, that's when I figured it out. That yeah, there's definitely something to that for sure, no doubt.
Yeah, I think you went from one of the most active places, being Pennsylvania, to another hot, which seems like to be a pretty hot spot in northern Georgia, there in South Carolina.
You got the grass man, right?
Well, they can call it whatever they want. It's Bigfoot.
Yeah. Yeah, I've read some of those stories from up there.
It's the same though. Growing up, growing up here in Ohio, I'm guessing it's we're probably from the same time period, that you just didn't hear that stuff other than you saw the Patterson Gimlin film or you saw In Search of on TV, and we really loved the whole idea of Bigfoot and UFOs and the Bermuda Triangle and stuff like that, and never in a million years would have thought that. I've got Bigfoot reports from within half hour where I grew up, and you just never, and let alone the Dogman episode with the judge, which is right where we grew up. So, we just never imagined this sort of thing. But I think because of podcasts and some of the TV shows, people have started to come forward to share these experiences, and it kind of gives you a much broader picture of what is going on or what has gone on, and where exactly this stuff is happening, and it makes you realize, there's a lot of area, especially around here, where it seems like it's great habitat for that sort of creature to live and hide, and
people aren't afraid of getting ridiculed anymore because there's just many people that have experienced it. I think that's why more people speak up, because and then until you experience it, I mean, I wish you could have heard that. Yeah, oh my God, I'll never forget that. I mean, that was amazing for sure.
And so I'm sure you've shared, those Bigfoot experiences with your wife, okay, and told her about them. Yes, no?
Oh, she's into it, yeah.
She's into, because
we watched every movie. We that's one thing. It's kind of hard. We can't find anything else that's not. I mean, it's like the same thing, We've seen them all. We'll sit here on the weekend and go through all YouTube. Oh, we saw that. We saw that. We saw that. And I wish that somebody would come out with, one like they did back in, the 70s. Like when Spock, I don't know, Nimoy, the one like he did. Wish they do one like that, But it seems like it's a lot of them nowadays are pretty much the same. The same old thing. They talk and talk and talk and go somewhere, which is okay. Of course, I mean, I guess, they really have to find something, which is hard. I get that, but I don't know. I'm just looking for that next really good, documentary. I haven't been able to find it yet.
Well, there's plenty of them. There's plenty of them out there. That's for sure. So, but, well, Bud, it's been my pleasure to have you on and to talk some Bigfoot with you. And I can't thank you enough for sharing that recording. That's just spooky, for sure. And as we head into the Halloween season, I'm sure that'll set the tone for the rest of the month, for October. So, but thanks again, Bud. And if anything else crazy happens, make sure you get a hold of me. I want to hear about it.
definitely will. I appreciate you, having me on for sure. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the From the Shadows podcast. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are out.